Hi everyone, after the Styrian Grand Prix. Well, it was an interesting race, I must say. Although Mercedes dominated, as we all thought, there were some interesting things happening behind them. And also Max Verstappen, he managed to hold Bottas as long as he could. He was even thinking about winning, but at some point realized that Mercedes were just too dominant. And that is something to be concerned about. Mercedes is really, again, class of their own. And it's not good if we don't have a championship fight between at least two top teams. But nevertheless, race was good. It was not a thriller we had last week in at an Austrian Grand Prix, but it was nevertheless a solid race. Few good battles. Right at the start, collision between two Ferraris and disaster for the team. Both cars retiring, and we can say that this is probably one of their worst starts to the season in long time. Racing Point had a solid race, but again we saw they have very good pace, but we're stuck behind slower cars. And at the end, Lando Norris, with a great drive, did an excellent job, took fifth, best of the rest, so to speak. And he's actually now third in the championship. He's the only one close to Mercedes cars points wise. And it is an interesting situation. So as we see, after two races, we have the situation where Lewis Hamilton is catching Valtteri Bottas, Mercedes cars dominating, and behind them is a gap, and then we have all sorts of cars. Lando Norris, as I said, then it's Leclerc, but Ferrari doesn't he seem to have a pace of Racing Point and Red Bull and even McLaren. So Leclerc's 18 points were actually a huge surprise last weekend. Then we have Sergio Perez. I think Perez won't be so happy about those 16 points. I think he was pretty disappointed after both races and he thought he could gain more points. Verstappen also, after two races in Austria, not a happy man. Sainz could be happy. He even took fastest lap at the end of the Styrian Grand Prix. Albon, yeah, a bitter end to the Austrian Grand Prix, but a little bit of redemption. Fourth place in the Styrian Grand Prix. Gasly is doing a great job. Then we have Stroll. And the situation is pretty clear. Bottas and Hamilton will fight for the championship. I see no other driver apart from Verstappen, but Red Bull need to up their game. McLaren is second. It will be hard for them to hold off the Red Bulls. Racing Point is doing great, but Renault decided to launch a protest regarding legality of the Racing Point after the Styrian Grand Prix. And we all know there was a drama at the end of the race with Norris taking advantage of Racing Point cars and Renault of Daniel Ricciardo fighting each other. And also the stewards deemed Renault's protest admissible. So there will be an analysis on the legality of the Racing Point car, and the focus will be on the front and rear brake ducts of the RP20. So yeah, all in all, Hungary is next. I think we will need a mixed weekend. We will need weather to do something for us in Hungary to have an interesting race, because if there will be no rain, I think the race will be very straightforward with Mercedes dominating again. But of course, never say never, and maybe Red Bull is preparing something special for Hungary, so don't discount them. So see you after the Hungarian Grand Prix. I will do a review again. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Comment if you have your thoughts. And see you next time.